main menu. Perfect. Okay, so the first part I would like to talk about is the user interface. I will very briefly touch the main menu because there's not that much interesting for you right now. There is a new game where you can select either customized world or the campaign map. There is load game, of course. There is create your scenario. I will come back to it later. There is game settings. I will also cover it a bit later. There is our help library and credits. Let's jump directly to the game. I will load one save I already prepared for this stream, so everything should be. Let's say we don't have to set up anything. I already set it up for this stream. I would just briefly touch why we decided to go with this UI concept. And I'm pretty sure you already saw some screenshots or videos. There are videos on YouTube available already. Basically, this whole stream is not going to be any kind of playthrough. There are already many videos like that in English, Finnish, German, Italian, or all the older languages. And what I want to show you today is the list of features in a nutshell, and also describe how it works. So once you get to the game, you will know how specific parts work, and also you will probably learn something new today, because in those YouTuber stream they sometimes are also not sure what is actually happening. So very briefly, the UI, we divided the UI to 4 different parts. There is the in the top right corner, upper right corner, you can see the game menu. In the top left corner, you can see the state menu. In the top bottom left corner, you can see the main map menu, and in the bottom right corner, you can see the unit menu. I'm telling it because anytime you will try to find certain information, you should and will be probably successful to find the information in that part of the screen. So whatever is related to the unit, it will be here. Whatever is related to the map will be here. There are many windows in the game. I'm not going to go through all of them. I will just point out 2, the most important ones. The first one, it's called State Window. It's available here in the State menu, and basically this is the window where you have all the different tools with all the different actions related to the actual state available. So it means that you have the trade here, government, research, capital, state decisions, etc., etc. I will try to explain it later. And there is the map menu, and in there is the foreign relations. From foreign relations, you can get to any sort of diplomatic offers or diplomacy in general, with all the different countries or players in that map. First, before we actually dive into the features of the game, I would like to show you how customizable the map and the game is. You can see that below the minimap is a set of different icons, which we try to create to simplify the usage of the game and to let you customize what you want to see and how you want to see. So let's go quickly through them. You can see the first icon is Apply Color Overlay, which basically displays the map in the color of the player who owns it. So, okay, let me just. I think that the music is a bit too loud. I'm not sure how you. So you can see that it's colored in the color of the player. You can see that there is another player which is colored in green. The next item here is the turning off and on the fog and trees. The reason for that is that many players prefer to have the map as clean as possible without any kind of eye candy stuff. let's see what it does. So you can see that it simply removes all the trees, and it also removes the fog. So you can clearly see what is on the map, what map items are there, what resources, etc. The main reason behind implementation of all these features is that when we were creating this game and running the user test, we sometimes got to the point when the players simply wanted two different things. One group of players wanted to have a player color, one wanted to have a, let's say, natural look of the terrain. One set of players wanted to have a clean map, one wanted to have some kind of eye candy stuff. That's why we came up with all these options, and it's totally up to you how you decide to play the game. The next one is turning on and off the trade routes. It's pretty self-explanatory. This one, it's called Top View, and I'm particularly happy about this feature because when we were doing the user tests, we noticed the pretty high number of people who prefer to play in 2D. It's something what was really surprising for me, especially in today's 3D world. But the number of user testers who prefer that was pretty high, and also some kind of overview of the whole country is beneficial for the player. So we decided to create this fully functional top view. It is not just overview. It is you can basically find all the informations you find in the 3D view. You can also find in the top view. So you are absolutely fine to play just in 2D if you prefer to. You also don't have to really zoom in to get back to 3D. We came up with the shortcut with tab, so you can basically play in 2D or 3D as you like. The next one is grid, so you can turn off or on the grid. There is also supply filter. I will talk about it a bit later. And there is so-called terrain color overlay. Basically, what it does is that again, some players prefer to have clean terrain where they can see what exactly is the terrain type, and some prefer to have a bit more natural look. So you can turn it on or off, or you can combine it. Also, you can see that it's also changing. And you can do the same in top view as well. So everything's ready to go for you. But that's not all, because basically there were still some questions. How should, for example, the terrain type be let's say transparent? And then we came up with these other settings. In the game settings, you can see that there is a huge number of settings, and some of them are related to these features. So, for example, if you like the terrain color overlay, but you prefer to have it a bit more in the terrain color, then I will change it to 80, and you will see that it will change, and the color will become even more clear. You can do the same for the player color. So again, it's up to you how you really like the color, how you want to see the map, and how you want to play the game. There are other things like the fog density, which basically changes how dense the fog is. So if you think it's too much, then you can change it to lower values and see a bit more what is below the fog. And one of the other things which we came up with is the terrain saturation. Basically, there are some players, and it seems like most of them are from US, who prefer to have a bit more saturated terrain. So it means that you can see that it's very green, very saturated. So again, it's all up to you how you decide to play it. The last couple of settings I would like to cover is the unit size. Again, fully customizable. You can have very small ones to big ones. a giant actually. Let's put it back. Then there are things like extended UI, which will show you another buttons if you prefer to have everything at your hands. And in the top view, to have a really clear overview of the game, you can also hide the trees, so you will end up with a very clean way how to see the state from the top. Okay. The last thing the last thing of this part, what I would like to talk about is the way we tried to teach player how to play the game. You can see that every control, every item of the UI has a tooltip, and every control also have so-called hint. You can see the hint here once I hover over each item. So even without tutorial, the player should be able to quickly grasp the way how the game works and how the UI reacts, and what are those controls for. The tooltips are more related to the actual situation. So, for example, in the unit menu, you have the list of we call it actions. So that's all what the unit or map item can perform in that particular state or turn, and you can see that it actually says, okay, if we want to chop wood right now, it will cost you this amount of resources. Apart from these hints, there is also a very detailed library with all sorts of different information, not only related to the real game items or concepts, but there are also detailedly described what is each feature consisted of, how it works, what might you be missing, etc. And the game also comes up with manual. It has probably more than 200 pages. I'm not really sure, but it's well done, and you should be able to find any sort of information there. The last thing I would like to cover in user interface is are default actions. What we were trying to achieve is that the player will not have to go to this action bar and click on these actions, and the player will also not need to learn the shortcuts. So you can see that if you hover over some of these actions, you see that in the brackets there is the ladder, which is the shortcut. So you can use shortcuts, of course. You can even change the shortcuts here if you want to. But what we were trying to achieve is that you really play the game and you focus just on the map, just on the game. And that's why we came up with these default actions. The default actions are basically you can see once I select the settler unit, I already see in tooltip fortify. We came up with a system where we prioritize what is important on the particular tile. It really depends on the tile. It's not really just a unit, but also the tile and situation. And according to this, we offer you this default action. So you can see that now it's fortify for settler here. It's build field for settler here, and for example for the unit it's also fortified. For this guy it's build dirt road. So it changes by context, it changes by the actual position. And this was pretty successful during the user test. The players were easily picking this up, but it was not enough because they still had to use this action bar. So what we came up, it's called alternative default action, which works the way that if you see the action and you hit or press the control key, then you can see I'm pressing it now, and it changes the action to the default action. So now it's build field, which is the default action, and the alternative one is the fortify action. We can do the same here. It's fortify, and now it's skip unit. We can try it, I don't know, here. It's build town and build dirt road. To use just the mouse, we came up with a system where you can hold the right button, which will switch the default action. So I'm going to click the right button. So I'm holding the button, and now if I will left click, it will confirm the default action and the build field will be executed. With this approach, we are able to cover around 95% of all the actions player has to do on the map itself without using shortcuts or without using the action bar. Okay, this is the first part I wanted to cover. My colleague didn't send me any. Sorry, she did. I'm going to answer a couple of questions now, but we have to move on. Okay, there is nothing really much related to UI. The UI scaling, the UI scaling is currently not working. It's capable of working on high resolutions, even 4K, but right now there is no scaling. We might be able to implement it in the next patches. Playing by email is not really related to UI, so I'm not going to cover it now. Okay, let's dive into the rules and features. That's the it's divided to two parts because it's pretty long. So I divided it or split it to two parts. I'm going back to the main menu now, and I will start a new game. The game itself is very modular, so every part or every feature of the game can be turned off if you don't like it or you don't feel that you can actually handle it. That's why there is this game options, where there is a list of features of the game or rules which you can turn off and play absolutely without them. The game, like I said, it's flexible, so when you turn something off, it really works like there hasn't been such a thing ever. So I'm going to cover most of these during the actual presentation of the rules. So what I will just point out here are the invention tree mixed, which is a feature where we don't have a fixed invention tree. You can have it fixed if you like to, if you turn it off. But we prefer to have the game every time a bit different, and that's why we came up with this game option where you can turn it on, and the game will mix the invention tree. The mixing itself is not random. It doesn't mean that there won't be any monkey business going on. There are certain rules which the new invention tree always have to stick to. So for example, if you have one unit and an upgraded type of the unit, then the upgraded type will be always in the invention tree behind this. There are a couple of other things which it has to stick to, but that's basically the principle. And the second option is the invention tree hidden. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but just very quickly, you see the part of the invention tree which you already discovered, and the part which is already close to be available or is already available. So I will show you in the game because I will leave it turn on. And the last part I will talk right now is the random events. Some players do not like random events, so we decided it to be configurable. And if you decide to turn it off, then events like natural disasters like earthquake or plague or war mage and stuff like that will be turned off. But there are some events which are not purely random, like for example the desertation of army, and it will be there anyway. So so these random events are pretty much the natural disaster. What I would like to point out is that these random events and all the consequences are not related just to the player. It's also related to AI. So AI struggles the same way as you do if you turn it on, which means it's not really a disadvantage to turn it on. It's just a bit of more fun maybe involved, but it depends on you what you prefer. Okay, so I will now jump into the game. I will select the Roman Empire, for example. It doesn't really matter. The first thing I would like to briefly cover are the terrain features. Basically, that's what we call roads, rivers, bridges, and partially also the terrain extensions. There are three different options how you can travel on the land. You can also you can of course travel just on the land without any kind of connection. You can use roads. Um, you can use roads which considerably increase the movement of your units. It also increases the supply management. I will talk about it later, and it also decreases the loss of the trading. So it increases, let's say, the benefit of the trading. There are also rivers. The rivers are not just for eye candy effect. They are very important defensive parts of the map. Basically, once there are rivers, they are really like natural barriers, and some units cannot cross the river at all. Some can, but there is a huge penalty for movement. And if you for example know that there is an enemy behind a big river, you can build a defense behind that river, and it will really slow down the enemy. To mitigate the issue or the problems with rivers or the drawbacks of rivers, you can build bridges, which basically remove all the penalties for that river. You can also destroy these. You can see here, destroy bridge. You can basically also destroy bridges once they are built, which means that the river will be again impassable or will be difficult to cross. You can see here that there is one type of the road. This is called dirt road. There is another road called paved road, which basically multiplies the movement even more, and also, like I said, the supply management is related to it and the trade. But I will show you the advanced or paved roads later on. On the map, you can see different kinds of map items. You can see that there are military units, there are settler, there are cities, there are different kind of mines and quarries, and there are also. Okay, what I will do, sorry. I will load the stream save file again, because we can see everything in there. So there are also buildings. That's really important to understand that those buildings are not built in the cities. We were trying to move from the city-centric way of 4X games to a bit more balanced way, where the facilities can be also near the cities and not exactly there. So you can see here. Okay, I don't have it here as well. But what I will do, I will actually build one. So you can. So I'm going to press this build button, and right now we have 3 different buildings available already. The number of buildings available is increasing as you progress through the invention tree. Right now we have 3 different options. I will buy blacksmith, and you can see that the blacksmith acts as a resource multiplier for mines. There is a range where it works. It's right now 3 tiles, so you can see that it highlights what's going to be multiplied. I'm going to build it now, and it's going to be built for a couple of turns. By the way, I almost forgot, the roads are also multipliers of the production. So if we will start connecting different mines with cities and with blacksmiths, it will increase the production of these mines. That's why we build the blacksmith, because once it's finished, it will start multiplying the production of these mines. And once we connect them with the road, it will multiply it even more. There are the military units there are different types or army types which depend on the country you start with. Like I said, I actually didn't even say that before, but what I will show you, there is Right now there is 30 different military units. You can see that there are many cavalries, there are hoplites, there are legionaries, etc. And what you can actually build and recruit depends on what country you play as. So for Roman empires, we have this principes, legionaries, and the lower ones, which are, I don't know if I have it here. Oh yeah, milites. So this is the army type which is used by Roman states or countries, but there are 5 other different types. They are Greeks, there are, let's call it barbarian, there are Persians, they are Carthaginian, yeah, and that's it. Let's first cover the cities. Every city has so-called range. The range changes or extends per the size. So you can see that Rome has a pretty big range, city range, but the Perusia has a smaller one. I'm not sure if we have anywhere smaller city. Yes, you can see that Napoli has actually just this cross. So this extends per the city expands, and the bigger the range is, the more you can actually harvest out of the neighborhood or the tiles where the range is. So you can harvest food and wood out of these tiles. I will come back to it a bit later, but just don't keep that in mind. Cities are homes for citizens. Citizens is one of the resource, and the bigger the city size is, the more the resources, the more the citizens there are. If I will click on the city, and you can see in the tooltip that right now the Roma is a 6.9 size, and there is 126 citizens. Of course, citizens is the resource. It doesn't mean how many people live there. It's a simplification. If we will click on Perusia, you will see that the size is 3.3 and the number of citizens is 10. The difference is huge. You can see that the difference. The reason for that is that the size is non-linear. It means that once you if you have 2 cities of size 3, it's not the same like 1 city of size 6. It's actually exponential. It means that well, basically it's exponential. I don't really want to go into the math here. But with the size also increases or decreases the production of the city. So you can see that even the production is actually exponential. The bigger the city is, the more exponentially more the production of the cities. The cities and basically all the map items, no matter what type, can have production and consumption. You can see in Roma we are producing knowledge, influence, and citizens, and we require to have the city functional and maintained. We require some coal, stones, etc. Which is, again, that's from the list of resources. I will cover this in the next chapter, because it's important to understand what it's for. One of the things which is related to citizens is migration. Basically, citizens itself is almost the most important resource in the game. So it's important to maintain or be careful about the migration. Once the citizens are not happy, they might migrate to different parts of your country or even abroad. It depends on number of factors. I will cover it in the resource management part, but I will just show you here. We just conquered Ravenna, which was the initially Celtic city, and when I will go to the window which says how citizens grow, you can see that it says that there is a decrease of certain number of citizens and the migration minus 45%. It basically means that in the last turn the population has decreased almost to half, because the city is not repaired. There are also, you can see, I will cover it later, there are some kind of revolts. So people migrate, and you have to take care of it. If you don't do that, the people might simply escape abroad, or they will be revolting. With the citizens resource is also connected the recruitment of new units. Once we want to build a new unit, we basically withdraw the citizens out of their homes, out of the cities, to the actual service, and this will depopulate the number of citizens. I would like to add here that every citizen can be so-called specialized. It means that it is capable of building a unit type. You can see it always here. So now it's specialized as a settler, which is the non-military unit, but we can also have a specialization of milites and other different unit types, which basically means that we created some kind of center where we can train these people what should they do, and how to perform their duty to be good workers or to be good soldiers. There is also possible to have more these in one city. It's called specialization once again. It's so you can have a multi-specialized city and build more types, but you always have to first prepare the city for this and select the specialization you want to have the city specialized for. With this recruitment of the units, once we build it, the city depopulates. The citizens' resource is basically the amount of people who are in the economy, which means they are actually in those cities and they are in the buildings and working for the state, and they are not in the service of army, or they are not actually workers which are somewhere in the field and building something. So that's why it will depopulate it. So once I will build it, let's build it here. So you can see that the tooltip tells us what will it cost. It will cost 7 gold, 7 iron, and 7 citizens. I will confirm, and you can see that the number of citizens was decreased, and the people were withdrawn from Perusia and the the nearby cities, and the size of the city has decreased to 1. So even the city range has changed. This way you have to be really careful to actually not depopulate the city to such an extent that the economy is not able to properly function. You have to always very deeply consider if you need any more armies, or you leave the citizens working in the economy. With the map items also is connected improvement or improvements, which basically mean that you can extend the unit or the city with specific behavior. I can show you here. Like in this city, we can improve the city with civil service, defense, trading. There are many more. I will show you in the help. But these are the actual buildings of the city. But the same approach works for the same approach also works for the military unit. So I can train my unit. Again, you can see its default action. It's already there. And I can teach this unit or train the unit to be a city raider. I can train it to be better in defense, etc. And all these things in cities changes the production or consumption or the defense or the social aspect of the game. So, for example, migration, etc. And the same is true for the extensions or improvements of the military units, because they might perform better in battles, or maybe be faster, or may consume less resources, etc. Because also every unit, every military unit has an upkeep cost. So you have to pay every turn for having such an army, and you might reduce it with with particular improvements or extensions. Okay, that's about the cities. Let's go a bit about the resource management. There are right now there are 10 different resource types. You can see it on the top. We have so-called mined resources, which is gold, coal, stones, and iron. These three are entirely mined, so it means that there is a coal mine, there is a stone quarry, etc. The gold can be also produced in the cities if they are capable of trading and basically creating wealth. Then there are these two which are harvested from the city range. It's called food and wood. And then there are four pretty special ones. It's called knowledge. Knowledge is produced in cities, and again, the production is exponential per the city size. So you can see that the Roma produces 3.5 knowledge per turn. But if I will go to this one, okay, this one I just created. No city. You can see it's much lower value. Knowledge is used pretty much purely for the research. There is a pretty long invention tree. Basically, you can see that's what I was talking about. These items are hidden, so we don't really know what's going to be the next invention. We see these two because we are already close to be able to research that, but we don't know what is next. Some of them are available already, some of them are unknown. This knowledge is used almost entirely for the research, and you can also trade this knowledge. I will come back to it later. There is also influence. It's also created or produced in cities, and you can use this influence to take over enemy cities or friend cities if you have enough of this resource. I don't have it right now here. What I can do, I can go to the editor. So this is something we are going to cover very soon. So let me just change the value. And I will try to influence. Okay, we don't really see. Okay, we can try to influence this little city here. You can see that it costs amount of influence and also gold. So let's give it a try. Okay, we were really lucky because the city was not happy with the current master. It usually takes more tries and also more turns to actually be successful. But right now we were successful, and you can see that the city joined us. That's because we had a lot of influence. The next resource I would like to cover is the citizens. Like I already said pretty much most of it. The couple of things I would like to say is that the citizens are also tradable, which basically means it's kind of a slavery. So you can sell your own citizens. We basically decided to group citizens and slaves to one group, and that's why you can trade it, but it has a really big impact on the happiness of the country. And the last one is the happiness. It's very important one. Happiness is basically how reliable your state or your country is, and how reliable your people are. It is derived from different aspects of the game. One of them is your government. I will get to that after the break. Then there is the abundance of resources. So if you have enough resources, the people are more happy. If there is a lack of resources, they are getting really unhappy and angry. And there is also so-called army size impact. This means that you can see that in hint. If you have weak army, then people feel unsecured, and they basically are not happy. If the army is too big, then people think that you are spending too much of their money to the army itself, and they are also unhappy. So you need to stick to a certain level of the army compared to the number of citizens to actually have this this well maintained. This is from these values, it's calculated so-called base happiness, which is this 120%. That's the same value like you can see here. But the base happiness is then affected by so-called local impacts. So you can see that every tile, there is a scale here, has a bit different local happiness. So for example, our people in Roma are really happy because not only we have a really high base happiness, but also they are happy because they are part of the capital. But if we will go to this conquered city, you can see that their local happiness is just 38%. And the reason is that they are revolts, and the revolts not only decreases the happiness but also increases the chance of revolts, riots, and potentially also might create a new player like a civil war, or might join another country if it's possible. The local happiness is affected by many factors. The first one might be is revolts, like I said, but there is also not well maintained city. There is also the closeness to the border with enemy, and there is also the fear of the particular enemy as well, which means that if we are close to border with enemy which is not really dangerous, it's okay, but if we are close to enemy which is very powerful, then the fear is much higher. That's the local happiness, which we already covered as well. I forgot two things to mention: the citizens, because you will need citizens to recruit army, you will need citizens to boost your economy. Then it's very important resource. Sometimes you will need so many citizens that you need to boost the natality of your state. Basically, you try to force or let the people have more kids, and that's why there is this feature called birth rate policy. What a birth rate policy does, it's basically a financial and material support for the people. So so it costs you some gold, it costs you some stones and wood for building new homes. But then eventually the number of citizens will start to increase. You can set it on the global level, or you can even set it per city. So if you know that you will actually need to populate certain part of your country, then you can specify it here per your liking. Important thing to add is that and it's also written in the hint, that the impact of the grant of birth rate cannot be exactly predicted in advance. That's this. You can imagine that you are going to support the people and tell them, okay, we are going to build you new homes, but you don't know what exactly will be the impact of that, or if the people will actually want to to go to that situation. So this cannot be 100% predicted. It will eventually start increasing, but the amount of increase will need to be observed in next turns to actually see what is the impact on your people. The last thing I would like to cover in this part, and then we will have a short break, is the trade. We were really trying to create a trade which makes sense, I would say, and also which is detailed enough and not simplified too much. You can basically trade any of these resources except of the happiness, of course. And to be able to trade, you need to establish so-called trade route. The trade route is the shortest and most secure path to one of the cities of your business partner or potential business partner. You can see that there are a couple of trade routes already set up. It's going all the way to Byzantium. Here is going to Pergamon, etc. And according to the length of this trade route and also the type of terrains which it's going through, then the trade loss is calculated. I can show you now that we have already established trade routes with all these countries. That's not all, there is more countries, but right now we have established trade routes with these countries. And it's sorted per the trade loss. So you can see that the best for us would be to trade with Carthage. Not only the trade loss is lowest, but also the risk of robbery, which is based on the number of tiles which are unowned, is very low. So for us, it would be the best to trade with Carthage. So let's see how the trade details window look like. You can see that there is a offer part and the demand part. One point I would like to say is that there is no good or bad deal. It's all up to you. It's all up to supply and demand. What is beneficial to you to get and what do you offer? So there are no let's say guides who will tell you, okay, you want 1 gold and the price for that is 10 stones. So if I, for example, I need gold, I will simply select how much gold per turn I want, and I will also select how much stone. Sorry, the other way. If I have enough gold, I select gold, and if Carthage will be able to, then I will ask for stones. There are different ways how you can negotiate the deal. The negotiating itself might last even a couple of turns, because the amount of resources might be changed by the opponent or trading partner, and he can re-offer you a new deal, which you might accept or reject. These trades are not one way off. It's basically a long-lasting trade relation. So you can see that you can specify for how many turns it should last. And there is also slider for trade stop limit. Okay, so this is the trade window, and here are different ways how you can negotiate. So if I, for example, don't know what Carthage can offer to me, then I will just say, okay, I have 4 gold, what can you offer me for that? And I will ask for a free offer. Okay, if I will want it the other way, which means I absolutely need stones, and I'm happy to give you whatever you want, then I will ask for open request, and Carthage will tell me, okay, I'm interested in wood and coal, etc. So this is all about negotiation, and once you get to a certain point where you both are happy with the deal, then you accept, and the goods start flowing both sides to the business partner. Last thing here is the rates. Basically, once there are active trade routes, you can see that there are not active right now, because once they are active, they will move. It's clear that it's an active trade route. Then there might be pirates or let's say raiders who can attack these trade routes and try to steal some of the traded goods. This has impact on the relationship of the owner who actually transfer the goods, but you can get some resources out of it. You can perform these raids either by ships or by the military units if the trade route is on the land, which we actually don't have right now, because the only country we are having borders with is in war with us. So this is pretty much the first part of rules and features. I will cover the second part after the short break. I'm just are there any questions? Lucy Herimadora didn't really send me any, so it means that we can continue and have a short break. I'm not going to let you wait. What I have here for you is the well, we are testing the game, of course, and I'm also playing the game to see how the AI behaves, etc. And sometimes it's a real struggle to actually win. And this is one of the games I was playing, I think 2 weeks ago. I was playing for RDA. I will show you where they are. And I think that this game is in already. It's already 150 turns behind me, And I would like to show you there is a feature called History Replay in the game, where you can see how I was progressing during the history. It's really good if you, for example, haven't played the game for a while. Then you can see that how it all began, etc. So you can see now. Let me show you the. So the white part is mine. You can see Rome here. There is German tribes. Let me turn on the trees again. And what I will show you now is how I got to that point. It will probably take 3 or 4 minutes, and after that I will be back. So this is the history replay. You can see this is the initial setup, and this was my my initial. These were my initial borders. You will see that I was really struggling because I was on 2 fronts. So enjoy it, and I will be back soon. Okay, I'm back already. So you can see it was it was pretty hard, and it wasn't easy to get through and finally expand. By the way, there was a question: what difficulty was this? I usually play on hard, so this is a hard difficulty. There are also 2 even more difficult levels, which is heroic and legendary. The red circles you can see popping up. Those are the places where important event happen. So you can find this event when you hover over with the mouse. So what happened there, and you can also see the events in the right part of the window. So you can see that now I'm getting a bit better. I was able to actually get through the enemies, and I think that this is the game. No, I will show you one more game during the next break, because the very interesting event happened there. There was question if I can show how the actual trade route looks like. I think that in this game I actually have some trades, so let's see. Yes, so this is the trade overview, how it looks like when you are actually trading. We are basically doing really well because, well, I'm actually offering some gifts to... No, these are gifts from other players, because the other players are really small. You can see that the German tribes, for example, they are here, and they are really getting really small. You can see the trade coming here, happening here, and I'm supporting them in the war against the Romans. This game had pretty interesting development, because I will show you now in the editor how it looks like. So you can see that the absolute superpower here is the Carthage, because they were not able just to nicely settle in Iberian Peninsula. They also conquered all the Mediterranean islands, but they also were able to get through Italy and withdraw them from the Italian peninsula. The Romans are still alive. They were actually pretty successful during the initial part of the game, but eventually they lost a couple of very important battles, and you can see that they are now located here. Okay, let's get back to the stream save, because it's all set up here and easier to find than in these saves, which I didn't play for quite some time. One of the things I would like to cover are governments. Governments are aspects of the country management which help you with or has it's better is to say they have impact on different part of the country management. You can change your government here if you get to a certain point in the invention tree that you actually invent such a type of government. And you can see that the government, we currently have aristocracy and despotism available. We are a republic, of course. And if we go to the Aggressors library, there are right now 6 different government types. Then you can see that the government has a list of resources and percentages. What it does, it has impact on the production of these resources. So you can see that that aristocracy has a rather negative impact on the gold production, but and the citizens production, and a bit of happiness. If we will look at the democracy, you can see that the citizens and happiness is much higher, but also some of the mined resources are a bit lower, because we cannot force people to actually mine. If you want to change a government, you can see that there is this in tooltip. You can see the difference. So if you are, for example, in lack of food, you decide to change the government just to produce more and feed the people, and in other situation, when you, for example, need happiness because the people are unhappy, you can switch to more pleasant government for people. As you can see now, for these two, we are at least for the happiness, which is the last icon in the list. You can see that none of these two is actually beneficial for us from the happiness point of view. So that's what I showed here. That's the government impact. The governments have also impact on the army, and its army moral. Basically, every government type has a different army moral influence, and you need to decide if you need the army moral for fight, or you are actually in peaceful state, and you can really focus on the people. This is based on a let's call it semi-historical aspect, when the Romans were voting for a dictator when they were in danger. So once you are in danger, you might also decide to change your government and focus on the army moral rather than on people, and all the economical aspects will get a bit on the side track. The next part I would like to cover, and I really look forward to it, is the diplomacy. The diplomacy, as well as trading, was a very important part of the game, and we were really trying to make it as well as possible. So you can see, I can go from the foreign relations window. There are, by the way, there are many shortcuts how to play the game. You don't have to click on this. You just right click on the tile of the opponent, and you are already in diplomatic window. So you can see that we can sign peace, which is already signed. We can declare war, but we are currently having some contracts or treaties with this opponent or partner. We can ask for peace cancellation with another country. And then there are so-called treaties. There are 11 different types of treaties, and they are independent on each other. It means that you can have a totally different set of these treaties with one country and totally different one with another country. And it depends on what are your needs and what do you actually need what kind of relationship you need to maintain with these opponents. There are some basic ones like a city visibility, tile visibility. There are a bit more interesting like map exchange. There is trade routes, for example, which basically you agree that the trade routes which you are actually trading with someone else, not with this particular partner, but with someone else, then you let the trade routes going through the city, through the country of this opponent. Then there is the supply support. Supply is one of the features you can turn on or off. And basically, you need supplies to have your military units fed. And if you are not able to feed them, you can sign this supply support treaty with closer state. And if you are successful, then they will provide the food to your armies. There is a couple more. It's homeland movement and road usage, which means that you will be allowed to pass your units through the opponent's country. And then there are military treaties, which is Defense Pact and Brothers in Arms. Defense Pact basically secure you. Once someone declares you war, then the opponent will also declare war. And for the other one, it's the basically offensive military alliance. The last three parts of the diplomacy are federations, confederations, and annexations. This is interesting part because you might create a super state with someone else, and with this approach, you might sooner or later get to a point where you join the countries entirely. What confederation does is that that two different countries maintain their own military, their own economic, but they have joint foreign relations. I will now go to the editor and change the Massilia to Confederation, so you will see what's actually happening. And now I go back to the foreign relations window. So you can see that the Massilia has now our flag with a small flag of its own, and it's a confederation, but it moves its own units and it maintains its own resources without us. So what we actually decide here is who are we going to fight against. Then there is the Federation Pact. I will also change it, which basically means that we control everything. We control the resources, we control the units, we control the cities. We of course control the foreign relations like we did in the Confederation. So it might appear that it's already yours, but it's not. The player is still there. He's observing how his part of the country is doing, how happy the people are, how secure the game, how secure his part is. And once he's not happy about it, because for example Carthage might attack us, or I don't know, German tribes might attack, etc. Then and we will not do anything. They will revoke this federation, and then it will create again two independent states. So you cannot really take advantage of a federation state. You need to maintain it and treat it well, so it will not revoke. Once you maintain such a relationship for quite some time, and then you might be able to also sign an annexation. Well, basically annexation really means that you will incorporate this part of your super state to your own state, and this player disappears. This player doesn't disappear entirely. basically he will not play anymore, but he might kind of get back to life. It all depends on the happiness and on the way you treat the new or the part of the country where this player was. If you don't treat it well, the civil war might break, and it will take some cities, and he will basically resurrect, and he will start playing again. So this is the way how new players actually come back to the game. So there are super states which basically eliminate the players, and there are these civil wars which creates them again. So that's the diplomacy we covered. There are two similar concepts in the game. One is called loyalty, and one is called general moral. Basically, the loyalty is based on historical simulation of how quickly we can recruit the new units if we conquer a city. If we, for example, look at this Ramina, oh, it's not here. Sorry, I think that it was. Well, it's not here. It doesn't matter. I will attack this this barium city. I hope that we will conquer it. And once we conquer a city, it will have specific loyalty. You can see there are two different progress bars. The first one is the loyalty I'm talking about, and then the second one is the general moral. Loyalty basically means that the people, how willing the people are to fight for us in our armies. If we build an army in this city, once we repair it, usually once you conquer a city or a building or mine, you have to repair it. But even if you repair it and we will recruit new unit, like I shown before, then it will take this loyalty with it. It means that the new army will have a lower loyalty and will have a penalty in the battles, which means it will have 70% penalty because the loyalty is only 30%. This loyalty slowly increases, but it usually takes decades to actually get back to the 100% value. And this increase also depends on what country or what was the initial owner. So in this case, it was a kingdom of Epirus, and this is a Greek state. The Greek culture was pretty close to the Roman culture or Latin culture, and that's why this will basically increase in a bit higher rate. But if we would do the same with the Celtic cities, we currently don't see any, but there are some here. Once we conquer a city of Celt, which is totally different culture, then the increase is much lower, and it will take even longer. So that's why you always need to consider where you recruit your new armies, and this should simulate the actual way how it was done before, because in many games you simply conquer something and then you repair it and you start straight away recruiting new units, and we were trying to stay away from that. Similar to the loyalty is the general moral. The general moral is basically the attitude of the people or the unit, and with the lower general moral, the higher the chance of desertion, the higher the chance of revolts and riots is, and also the actual battle effectiveness is lower. The general moral itself increases or decreases much faster than the loyalty. So if we, for example, now repair the city, then the next turn will the general moral goes higher, and in, I think, like, let's say I cannot really play it, but in 5 turns the general moral can be back to 100%. The general moral is also does also exist for units. So you can see that this unit, for example, has loyalty 68% because it was built in the conquered Celtic city, and it also has this general moral equal 90%. This unit is prone to or has higher chance of desertion once it starts starving, or once it's in the battle where there is a huge advantage of the enemy. General moral can also lead to revolts and civil wars. So once you have a unit with a city which has this value way lower, then you should basically you can do a certain number of things, but the first thing you should actually bring the garrison unit to the city to maintain the order, because the city the chance that city will actually revolt is much lower when you have the garrison unit in the city. And the last thing, which is related to the general moral, is the influence. What the influence actually does is that once you apply it on the enemy city, it increases the general or decreases the general moral and increases the chance of this city to revolt. Okay, we are almost at the end of rules and features. Let's go to supply management. Supply management basically can be also turned off if you don't like it, or you feel that it's too complicated for you. Basically, every unit, every military unit is a supply consumer, and cities, vessel units, and also wagons. Wagons are the suppliers. Once you get too far from your own cities, then the supply values will get lower. I will now turn on this supply area limit, what I was talking about, and you can see that some of the tiles are already colored in the scale of brown to yellow. So those tiles which don't have this indicator are 100% supplied. You can see on the tooltip that I'm actually having all these tiles supplied, but if I will hover over this, you can see that this is 89%, 70%, 39%, and it's going lower. This means that if we will go there, the unit we will not be able to fully supply this unit, and the unit will starve. It will decrease the general moral, and it can lead to desertions. So it's very important to maintain this supply, and I will show you how. It's not only about the closeness to the actual city, it's not only about closeness to the vessels. So it's the easy way. So for example, you can see here we have a guy, we have the what it's there? It's legendaries, and you can see that there is a red cross indicating that we simply don't have any supplies there, and it also says in the tooltip tiles don't supply. What we will do, we will move this vessel, and you can see how it's already changing. So now the tile is supplied on 100% because this is a supplier, and this supplier will supply for the next turn this unit. If this vessel will be destroyed by enemy, it means that this will be totally without supplies and it will start starving. But the other way how you can actually supply your units is to increase or let's say improve the way how you supply your units on land. What you can see here, this unit has tile supplied on 100%. Okay, I don't know why I set it up that way. Okay, you can see it better here. That's the other view, and these tiles are supplied on 100%, but these are already 60%. Sorry, 60%, 80%, 89%. What I will do, I have already some settlers here who build roads, and I will start building roads. When I build roads, I increase or improve the way how the supplies are transferred or transported to the front line, and you can see that all of them are now fully supplied. That's because of we increase improve the way how the transportation can flow, and that's why we already have this supplied. The last part is the combat itself. The number of factors which is taken into consideration when you attack either city or military units is quite long. I would like to show you. Okay, this is the battle result window. Yeah, you can see here that we have certain number of soldiers. They have a population. We have attack value and defense value. That's currently our health, let's call it, and ability to attack. And there are so-called impacts on the fight. So every unit type, I already talked about different army types, has a different abilities on certain terrains. So if I will, for example, look at this X-Man, this is initially a barbarian unit type. Then you can see that they are performing really well on forests. It means that if we will use this unit in forests, then we will get this certain advantage. If we will do the same with our Roman type, you can see that in forest it's really bad. So it means that that we should really use certain army types for certain tasks. And ideally, if we don't have the ability to build these different unit types, then we should select the battlefield, if it's possible, of course. The number of things which might impact the battle is pretty long. I already talked about the loyalty and the general moral. There is also so-called army moral, which is basically how afraid our soldiers or our armies are to the particular opponent. So once you can see that this is an army moral indicator, we are doing really well. We have a decent army moral. And if I will show you the army moral with Celtic tribes, you can see that it's lower, which means that we are actually scared of these warriors, and that causes us some penalty in fight. Every this army moral increases and decreases per achieved victories, and everything basically matters. Every tile you take from the enemy, every resource you take, every city you conquer, or every battle you win, increases your army moral. On the other hand, if you are losing, then of course the army moral is getting lower, and the same happens with the enemy basically. So also the Celtic tribe has its own army moral against us. If you get to a certain point that you basically are not able to fight at all because your units are pretty much escaping from the battlefield, there are certain tools which can boost up the army moral. It's a prophecy, propaganda, strategy review, and speech. Some of them cost just resources, and the impact is guaranteed, and some of them are basically kind of gambling, which means that you, for example, go to the prophet and ask for a prophecy. If the prophecy is bad, then it will not even not just increase the army moral, but it might have a certain impact on the country. Like here, oh, sorry, it's not to explain here because we cannot use it now. But basically, there might be some cities revolting. The other things which are important in fight are, for example, the extensions. So we might. Okay, I think that we don't have any more time. There are some extensions here, so every extension has some kind of impact on the unit which has this extension. So you can see the elite, its defense, movement, and attack is increased, and there is also this assault which increases the attack. This is all calculated in the battle. So you can have some improvements which are really dedicated to a certain action or certain way of fighting. For example, coastal landing, which basically decreases the penalty for attacking from the ships, etc. And there are some defensive structures, for example, defensive walls, or if you fortify your unit in the city, then it gets specific defense bonus, which might save your life because the enemy will not be able to conquer it. There is also unit experience with the battles. The experience is getting higher, and it also increases the effectiveness of the fight. And last thing related to the to the combat is the defense readiness and fend-off attack. Basically, we were trying to introduce some kind of mechanism which will simulate the group attacks, because group attacks are not part of this game, and the reason is simple. There is basically no benefit in that. It's too complicated, and you can easily simulate the same functionality with this defense readiness we introduced to the game. Basically, if you attack the unit the first time, I can try to show you, but we will probably win this fight. Okay, I will add some. No, what I will do... Well, we will probably win this fight. If we will win this, I won't be able to show you. Okay, he's still there. Okay, he withdraw, but I will get him back in the editor. And we will attack with the second unit. We will probably kill this unit. No, good. So we still haven't killed it. So let's do it one more time. And with every attack, every other attack in one turn, the unit gets higher and higher penalty for fighting many times. So I will attack the last time. I think that we will probably destroy this unit. Yes, we were successful, and you can see that there is already there is 30%. Okay, I'm not really sure why. Maybe there were two different units. But the more battles penalty basically simulates the group attack, because you will basically do it in sequence, but it will be the same as group attack. Yeah, that's pretty much it, what I wanted to cover. And the last thing is the healing. So once your unit is damaged, there are four different ways how to heal your unit. The first one is you leave it idle, and it's very slowly increases its health, but it takes really decades. The other way is to use self-heal or recover. Self-heal means, or you can imagine it like you set up the camp, and they are actually trying to heal the flesh wounds. This has one drawback, that if the unit is attacked during the turn when it's performing the self-heal, then there is a huge penalty, defense penalty, and this unit might be destroyed. If you want to, and this increase is percentage. I will explain what it means after this recover. The recover is even faster way how you can heal your unit. It's 2 times faster than self-healing, but it already costs some resources, and it also has this penalty once it's attacked. The difference between these two is not only that it costs some resources, but this once we actually perform this action, it will withdraw men from the close cities. It means that these cities will depopulate a bit, and that's why it costs some resources. You can see that there is 1.03 of citizens. You should not forget about the penalty, but also about one more thing, and that's what kind of men are actually recruited, because it will recruit the citizens from the nearby cities. So what I will do, I will now recover this unit, and look at these indicators here. It's not there. It's now it's full. Everything is full, and now you can see that it changed. It changed because we basically recruited people from this Barium city, where the loyalty and morale is lower. So this basically plant a seed of the worse attitude and worse loyalty in this army. So you should be very careful where you actually perform these turns, these actions. It's the same for experience. This unit doesn't have any experience, but when it's experience and it recovers, you recover it, then the experience gets lower because the people or the men are not trained well. And the last way how you can heal is that you can get the unit back to to the city, or where can it build these unit types. You can see its principles here, so we can build it here, and you can heal it. It's this. This will fully recover the unit in 2 turns, and it costs some resources. But again, if you will perform this in city with lower loyalty or lower general moral, it will make the same impact like we saw before. The last thing, and we are done with rules and features, is what I wanted to say. Okay, I think I think I forgot that. Yeah, the percentages. Like I said, this will be fully recovered in 2 turns, but the self healing and the recovering is percentage. What it actually means is that if your unit has just flesh wounds, it will very quickly recover, because the 10% of 2.5 is 0.25, which means that in 2 turns we will be back in full strength. But if your unit is totally destroyed, basically the unit can barely stand, then these percentages will take years to actually get back to full strength, because the percentages, even 10% increase from 0.5 is very low. So it takes a while, and it's better to get back the unit to your own training centers or specialized city and heal it. Okay, we covered the rules. There is much more to say, but there is simply no time. And my colleague just wrote me that I should answer a couple of questions now. Okay, Dusty Monk Pisha, I don't fully understand the difference between moral and loyalty, but I guess the manual explains. Yes, it's absolutely clear in the manual what's the difference. It also, once you click, for example, here on that item, you will get directly to the Aggressors library, and it will explain it very in detail what it's for, how you can get rid of it, and you see that there is a number of ways how you can improve it. Okay, so it seems like we covered the rules. Let's go to the campaign map and talk a bit about that. It will be a bit, I would say, easier to listen. So we have the campaign map. You can basically play for any of these 20 different factions or states. If we are too curious, we can also see the map and where we are. We can basically divide these 20 different countries to 3 different types. The one are the hegemons or the dominant powers here. It's a Roman Empire, Roman Republic, Carthage, and Ptolemaic Empire. Then there are states like Epirus, Sparta, Athens, Antigone, Macedonia, and then there are tribes. You can see the Gallic tribes. There is German tribes, Iberian tribes, etc., etc. The tribes usually start without any cities, and they can basically move like the tribes did. So if you for example play for the tribe, you can decide, okay, I don't want to stay. For example, Gallic tribes start here in the Iberian Peninsula. You don't want to start here, and you want to move somewhere else, and that's why they don't start with a city, but they can decide to move somewhere else. The states are like Epirus, and well, most of them are states. Are already based somewhere with a infrastructure and some units. What you can select in the new game window, which is this, you can specify the difficulty per each player. You can imagine that you are playing the game already for number of times, and you want to see how the world would progress if the cartridge would not be that powerful. You can change it here to a lower difficulty, and the AI player will behave according to that. And then there are two other drop-down lists. The first one is the game difficulty itself, and then the game speed. We try to simulate the progress in history as soon as right as possible, and that's why we by default it is realistic. But if you prefer to have a faster game, then you can select moderate, dynamic, or brisk, which will basically make the progress in invention tree faster. So let's go into the game. Okay, I will select another country. Let's select Epirus. It's my favorite. Epirus has a very difficult situation. Is in very difficult situation because he's located on 3 different parts of Mediterranean, and in one part he's threatened by Carthage, in another part by Rome, and in third part by the Greek state. So it's very interesting. I really like to play this faction, and I usually on the higher difficulty levels I usually fail. So what I would like to cover here are the objectives. For every faction, we came up with certain objectives, which are tailored for that state. Those might be military campaigns. Those might be relationship like alliances. These might be holding a city for a certain number of turns. The number of different types of objectives is quite low. I think there are 20 different types, and they are not the description or the way how you need to approach these is not like something like a checklist where you simply say, okay, this is done, this is done, this is done, and I have it and I finished it, but it's just in text. So what it says, that's the description of what you should do, and you should follow the advices what to do. We were trying to make it as clear as possible without any quantification of number of armies you need or what type of alliance you should have. But there is an indicator which says how you are actually doing, and if you are getting closer to the particular objective. These objectives are not mandatory. You don't have to follow them. It's beneficial for you to follow them, because once you fulfill one of these objectives, you will be rewarded by that with a certain let's call it, yeah, I think that the rewards are probably the best word for that, but the rewards might be of different type. It might be annexed some tiles or city. It might be increased number of resources, influence city. You can have a new business partner, etc., etc. So the number of different rewards is quite high. Every country, like I said, has different objectives, but some of them are focused on the same area. I just changed the player in the editor, and we can look at the objectives of Carthage, and you can see that there is absolutely the same objective, because they were basically interested in the same objective in the time. So these objectives kind of clash in certain cases, and that's what makes the game let's say more dynamic. But the rest of these objectives you can see are totally different. It's good to point out that once you fulfill some of these objectives, another objective might unlock. So this is not a definite list of objectives, because there might be some other ones which are waiting to be unlocked. But if you don't follow these and you are not going, you will not finish them. You will not unlock them. So it's like I said, it's totally up to you how you want to play the game. You can decide to basically not follow these at all and go totally different way. We were trying to create these objectives. I will also show you, let's say, Ptolemaic ones, per the historical flow, and also we were trying to guess what might be the objectives if particular faction is successful. So you can see again different trading cities, Marmartia, etc., etc. I can also show you the objectives of tribe. So this is Galeci tribe. You can see that, okay, there is one city, but the rest are nomadic units. And if I will go to objectives, You will see that it should conquer some territory, increase the population, increase the number of settlements, make a bigger army, etc. So maybe I was talking about it too much. The next part of the state management are so-called state decisions. State decisions are basically it's a tool which you can use if you get to a crisis or a dangerous situation and you don't know how to get out of it. So you can introduce. There are solutions. The problem of these solutions is that the impact is not predictable on 100%. I can show you an example. Let's say you can see that we don't have any of these state decisions available now. But let's say the new religion. You can see that it's already described in the tooltip. So the new religion can be introduced only under certain governments when army morale is low but sufficient resources are available. So basically, what we will do, we will introduce new religion to the army, and we will try to boost up the morale by that. You can and the impact is described below. New religion accelerates production and increases influence, but might have negative impact on happiness and relations with other states. So that's the way you can approach certain situations, but the impact itself is not 100% predictable, and it's up to you. It's kind of a not gamble, but it's a lucky guess if you are actually in such a situation where you can handle the negative impacts of such an action. I will now show you how the map looks like when you start the game. Let me show you the bigger picture. So we were not trying just to set up correctly the borders. It's now 278 BC. It's in the upper right corner. And the cities, of course, we were trying to find how powerful each of these factions was, and we will also try to set up the relations between these different factions as close to the historical annals as we actually were able to found. So so once you start the game, the players are already in some wars. They are already in situations which will draw you into the game straight away. So that's the same situation like when you start as a Roman Empire. You will straight away be in the war with the Epirus Kingdom, and the game basically doesn't wait long, and everything starts in the first turn. That's why I'm saying that it's difficult to play as an Epirus, because you can see the Epirus Kingdom is here. It's here, and on Sicily. On Sicily, it's threatened by Carthage. On Italian Peninsula, it's threatened by Romans, and here it's in I think. Let's change it back to Epirus. We are now in war with Antigonid. So that's the initial brutal setup, not easy to handle. Yeah, that's it. We covered the campaign map. Okay, there is one question. Grognerd asked, I read that the game has been in development for 10 years. That's a long time. There must be an interesting story behind that, I figure. What's the story behind the long development of Aggressors? Well, the problem is it's a long story. So I think I probably have to refer to the manual. The dev diary. If you scroll down to the in the agenda, I'm sending the link again. Then you can read it in one of the at the bottom. There is the link on dev diaries, and it's partially described there. Basically, yes, it's true. It's in development for 10 years. It started as an hobby project, but even as a hobby, it was really time consuming. And last 3 years, it's already a full-time job. I hope that Dev Diary will explain it to such an extent that you will be happy about it. Okay, another question. I imagine most probably was figuring out the engine and making it flexible enough to create multiple different scenarios. Yeah, yes and no. I mean, it was difficult to set up the 3D and also the modding and scenario flexibility. That's true. But on the other hand, the actual implementation of these rules was not easy because it's all connected together. So the balancing and the actual um, feeling that it works together, that was also not the easy task. Okay, let's move on to the next part, which is the game editor. I already briefly showed how it works. Uh, well, basically, I will go to the editor. You can go to the editor from the scenario builder or directly in any game, and you can create your own world or change the existing one. There are a certain number of tools you can use, and they are really easy to use. I will show you. So now we are in the map editor. These are the let's say map changers. So if you, for example, want to change the owner, I'm now Epirus. Okay, I will switch to Roman Republic. So if I want to change the owner, I basically click on the tile and it changes the owner. If I would want the tile to be without owner, I click on the tile again and it's without owner. You can change the terrain. So if I will show you, you can build your own islands with mountains and so on. You can build rivers. I will show you. Let's turn these off. Let's find a nice place to build a river, because there are already some rivers. Yeah, we can build it from from these mountains. I don't know how it's called in English. It's Carpathians, but not sure if it's correct in English. And we can start building the river. It's very easy. You just decide the direction of the river and click on the mouse. So now I'm pressing the button to right, and it's going to right. Now to down. Sorry, I'm messing with the keyboard shortcuts. You can see it's going down. Now again to right, 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 and we are already at delta, and we can connect another rivers like that. So that's a really easy way how we can set up rivers, and similarly you can set up also the roads. I will now show you the paved roads I talked about earlier. So these are the paved roads. You can see that it has a different texture, and we are building roads. It's also building the bridges straight away, because otherwise the road wouldn't make sense. So we have a really nice highway here. Then the terrain extensions. The terrain themselves, there are 10 different terrains, like you already saw here, but the terrains can have also extensions. One of the extensions is, for example, this. It's called field. There is which increases the production of food on this tile, but there are even better one, which is this one, which is the farm, which increases it 2 times more. Another terrain extension is, for example, this. It's called city foundation. It's basically foundation which you can find below on which the cities are always built. But once the city is destroyed and you build a new city on this tile, you will basically pay just a third of the price, because the city will be built on already existing foundations. These foundations will sooner or later disappear, because basically the people are slowly stealing these foundations for their own homes. So it will be it doesn't last forever, and sooner or later this will vanish from the map. What's next? Yeah, you can also set the patterns to have the even the game works on squares, on tiles. We were trying to achieve such a look that will be easy to figure out what tile it is, but it's not squared. That's why we came up with these patterns, and and these patterns basically decide what is the shape of this of the tile. So I can show you on, for example, on this island, I will change the pattern and it will create totally different shape of the island. And this way I can also shape the coast. So these are the patterns. It's always there are 64 different patterns, so you should be able to find a way how or find a shape per your liking. And then for every player you can also set the visibility. So it means I'm now Roman Empire. You can see here. I will click on the visibility and set what I want to change, and then I just click. So you can see I'm changing the visibility to hidden. If I want to change it to visible again, I will set the range and set the range. I can do this for all the players. Just switch the player. This is how you can change the map. You can also in the game change any kind of properties of the unit. So you can click on the unit. You can see that if it's in editor, it uses default action unit change. So I just click on the unit, and you can see that I can set certain list of different properties of the unit, and I can also set different improvements of the unit. So I can show you that you can see that the number of improvements for military units is quite long. And once I set it, you can see that I already have it here, and I can scroll over them or see them in the unit details window. And also I can set it for the citizens, so cities. So we can see that there is a number of different improvements here. You can also change in the editor the relations with other players. So if I will go to the foreign relations window and I click on any of these players, then you can see that the UI is a bit different. Not only I can set what is the current state of our relationship, but I can also change the unit moral. I can set the attitude of this particular opponent. I can also change the treaties per my liking. So this way you are able to set up a totally different world, totally different setup very quickly, and all in the editor. The last couple of things is you can also change the number of resources. If I will go to the state window, I can basically say I want to change the resources and increase it. So you increase the resources and it's there. Now you can see if I will get back to the game, I already have those resources. You can also set how far are we in the invention tree. You just right click on the item you want to invent, and it's invented. If you want to deselect it, you click again and it's deselected, and you need to develop that. The last part I would like to cover is the scenario builder. I will go back to the main menu and click on create your scenario. We can leave the name as default, new scenario. We will say that the default terrain, which means that the whole map will be in this terrain, is C. That's fine. You can also set the options, etc. Let's not waste time on that. And this will create an empty map without any players, without any units. There is some help which should make it easier for you, and you can start building your own world. I will basically create very quickly a new game. So we created an island. As you can see that this button is grayed out because the game is still not ready to be exported as a scenario. So I will add one unit for Roman Empire. I will add one city. And I will do the same for Epirus. So I will change the ownership. I will add one city. And I will add one unit as well. So you can see that this button is now available, and we can export it as a scenario. So let's export it as a scenario. Let's call it stream scenario. Just you can see, click OK. Okay, we created a scenario, and now we can get directly to that game. So I'm going to new game, and you can see there is a stream scenario. I will click on the stream scenarios. I can select one of these two countries. I select Roman Empire, and we can start playing. Of course, this is just a setup. And we basically cannot really play that because we are out of all resources. We didn't set it up. So we will actually starve to death very soon. What I can do, I can try to kill this unit and that city before we starve, but I will probably not be able to. Let's end the turn. And they will also starve. You can see that we are out of reserve, so okay, we cannot we cannot even move this unit because it refuses to take our orders. You can see it here because we cannot pay. So that's the way, but that's the way you already get the image how you can create your own scenarios. That's pretty much. No, I have to talk about integration. Okay. Are there any questions now? Okay, no, it's fine. So what I will show you now, once you create your own scenario, you can basically publish it to the Steam Workshop. This game is fully. Okay, I actually don't see the. Oof, I think that I built this without the. I have to turn it off for a very quick moment. Sorry about that, because I built this without the or I have this Steam integration turned off in the build. We are basically having two different versions of the game. One is without Steam integration, which is the one you buy as a boxed version, and then there is the full integration, which you can buy on Steam. So I'm already starting the game. Just give me a second. It will be just a moment. And this time it is already with the Steam integration. I'm really sorry about that. I was working on something and forgot to rebuild. So you should already be able to see the game, I hope. No. Now you should be able to see. So it's already loading. And now you will see that there are already items called additional content. Basically, we can click on that, and we can download different mods, scenarios, or even saves. What I will do now is that I will download one of the saves which is already in the workshop, and we can start playing it straight away. So. Let's click on additional scenarios. We can even filter it per mode or current mode. It doesn't really matter. Let's click on all mods, and let's for example try this. It's a Roman attack British Islands. So now once I click it, it starts downloading it from the Steam Workshop where it's available. Sometimes it takes a minute, so please be patient. I'm also patient. Don't really know why it's taking Steam to so long to download, but it will download it. It's usually a matter of half. Okay, we are there. You can see the Steam item was successfully downloaded, and we can go to the new game, and you can see it's already there. Roman conquest of Britain. So let's give it a try. You can see it's totally different map, and we can play as Britons, and we have a totally new game. Just download it from the Steam Workshop, ready to go. The last part of Steam integration I want to talk about is that you can also publish your own saves. Let me play one turn here. So we now have already played one turn, which means that we can publish something new to the Steam Workshop, and we can just click on the game, go to main menu, and click on publish. Once we click on this publish current save, it will upload our save to your own items in the Steam Workshop, and you might allow it for the other players to try. You can show off your skills, etc., etc. So this is the Steam integration, and this is the end of the second part of the stream. I will again have a short break if there are no questions. Okay, no questions. I'm a bit surprised, but okay. And I will, what I will do, I will again load another game. This time, I will play, or I played as Epirus. Again, it was on on hard difficulty, and you can see how I was doing. I think 2 or 3 weeks ago as an Epirus Kingdom. You will see that I was not able to hold the uh, Italian peninsula, but I was able to conquer the whole Sicily this time, and eventually was able to survive even on the Balkan. So you can see that this is the setup. It's now 196 BC, which means it's roughly 90 turns in game. And I will start the replay. By the way, just this might be interesting for you. There are also statistics about the game, so you can see how the economy is growing. You can see the army power, cities. You can see foreign relations if you are doing good or bad, etc. But we don't have time to cover everything. So the history of Epirus. What I might do, I can actually start this in the editor, so you will see the history of the whole Mediterranean without the fog of war. So I will increase the speed. So I'm starting as the green one here. So enjoy, and I will be back soon. Okay, I'm back refreshed. So you can see that I had some problems for quite some time. Actually, I think it was first 50 turns I was not able to expand at all. I was all the time some attacks from the enemies. And Roman Republic is actually doing really well in this game, you can see. So every game is really different. Sometimes you can see the Roman Republic winning the game, and sometimes it's Carthage. Sometimes it's even the nation you wouldn't expect, like Athens or Pontus. So I think it's really dynamic, and even I, after 10 years of playing this game, I still enjoy it. What I will like to show you in this replay is the basically pre-last turn. You can see that there is something huge happened. This is a Bosporan kingdom, and if I will go one turn to the future, which means actually one turn before, then you can see that everything was colored in green. The reason for that is, and you can see it here, Epirus and Bosporan signed federation. Because of it was beneficial for both of us and we had the same enemies, and also we didn't want to fight against each other. We decided to join into the federation and continue as one superstate. So this was a bold step for me in this game. I haven't played it since then, so not really sure if I will come back to it later or not. But that's the way you can it's happening even for you, but it's also happening for the AI players. So this might considerably change the balance of power in the game sometimes. Okay, let's go to map generator. So map generator was not initially it was not planned to have this in the vanilla release, but the testers were really interested to have it there, and then we decided to include it in the vanilla release. Even it was some kind of struggle because we had a tight schedule for that. There is a number of things you can adjust to your liking. There are standard things like the map size. Let's create a huge world. There is the map type, which basically decides if it's a huge continent or it's balanced, so bigger and smaller parts of the map are land masses, and or it's archipelago, which basically is just a huge number or big number of islands. Let's go with balance, for example. Then there is the map climate, which decides what kind of terrains will be mostly on land. Let's leave our standard. And then there is the number of opponents, which, if you like the building part of the forex strategy games, then you might decide to go for handful or scattered. If you really like to jump into the game straight away, then you can go for crowded or populous. Let's leave that distributed. Then the difficulty, it's clear enough. And then there is this, and it's really important one. It's called development. What I prefer in the generated worlds is to basically already have some kind of setup ready, because otherwise what you do, you basically click on end turn for 50 turns, because you have one unit, you build a city, then you wait, then you have another unit, and then you wait, and it takes like forever, and the initial development is not even fun for me, and also it takes like half an hour or even an hour. Why would I waste time when I can have fun? So that's why we came up with this setting. Basically, if you still prefer to start with one unit or let's say 2 or 3 units, then you go for this undeveloped or barbarian. But if you, for example, want to already have a city and a couple of military units, you go for civilized, or you can go to the advanced one, which is developed or the advanced. Let's put there advanced. I will show you how it looks like when you start such a game. Then there is number of different things. I don't really want to explain all of them. Game speed we already covered. It's the how quickly you progress through the invention tree. Then there are two ones which are extremely important. It's called game balance and player advantage. Basically, game balance decides how the setup will be fair. So if you want all the players to start with basically the similar number of units, similar resources, and similar number of cities, then you go for a fair world. If you like to have it a bit various, so one player can start as a predominant empire, and one can be just a city-state or two cities. Then you go for lower values. But this setting doesn't really tells you or configures where you are standing. That's why there is this player advantage, which decides if you will be on this scale, on the scale of the fairness, you will be on the part which is strong or actually which is weak. What I will do, I will leave, or actually I will configure the new world a bit. I would say non-standard way. So what I will do, I will leave there the development advanced. I will put the game balance to the lowest one, and I will also put the player advantage to the lowest one. This setup is actually the worst you can do, because there will be huge kingdoms and already developed, and then there will be then there will be you. You will be the smallest of the smallest. But I want to show you how dynamic the generator is. There are a couple of other things like resource abundance, which basically configures how many mines and queries will be on the map. Then the player resources abundance, which configures how much resources you get at the beginning to the stockpile, and a couple of other things. Again, we cannot really go through all of them. So let's build it. This is a huge world, so it might take maybe a minute to actually create the world, the terrain, and etc. So please be patient. Yeah, we basically covered the whole map generator now. What I would like to show you are a couple of different outcomes of the map generator. So I will show you now how it looks like for the setup we already created, and then I will change it and show you, let's say, one more. So you will see very different worlds generated. So we are almost there. So, like I said, we started as the smallest of the smallest. We already have one settler and one city and another one capital and one city. It's okay, right? I mean, we already started as a state. That's because of we started as advanced in advanced world. The problem is that there are already empires which are much bigger than we are. So there are three, and you can see that for example this guy, it's Carthage. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cities. He also has some buildings. There is temple. There are shipyards, another temple, and he has also the better units. This is already the advanced type of unit, but we are still struggling with the basic ones. We don't even have any. But if we would build one, we build nomads, or probably we can also build. No, we cannot. We have to really just settler and nomads. So you can see that the variability you can set up. Oh, this is also pretty big empire. You can see that it's on 2 different islands with pretty nice army, and this one is also pretty big. So this is the unfair setup. I can also find another country which is, you see that this one, it's Sparta. It's pretty much the same situation as we are. We set the fairness to the lowest one, and unfortunately Sparta ended up similar to us, which means that it's the smallest of the smallest ones. The outcomes of the generator are actually, we are pretty happy with how the worlds look like, especially with the height map. So you can find there very often these valleys or the mountain ranges. Let's see if I can find any other bigger ones. Yeah, islands like these. So we are pretty happy with the way the generator actually creates these worlds, and we were also trying to focus on the balancing of this. So even with the worst setup you can choose, you should be able to survive at least a couple of decades in the game. Okay, let's try one more generated world. Let's just go for a standard because it takes some time. We will go for well, let's go for the big islands. Let's set the barren world, and let's put there the crowded world difficulty. Let's put there civilized, so we will have some cities but not much. And let's leave the game balance as it is. I think that it's okay. So right now we should have a smaller continents or bigger islands. Let's say we should have many players, and the barren world, which means that that there will be fight for food. So we already set up with one city. You can see the size of the map is smaller, which means that there is also lower number of players. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But you can see that this is no, there are 10. Sorry, but it's really crowded. Because the borders, they touch each other almost for everyone who is not on his own island. So you can see that there are borders together. There are borders together. And if you look at the terrain, I will turn on the terrain filter. You can see that there are many mountains. There is scrap. There are deserts, and there are swamps. I would say there will be some swamps. So this one, that's a nice island, that's for sure. But the rest is really difficult to survive on. You can see that, for example, the blue one, it's just desert and scrap. So that's the map generator. I'm pretty sure that you will have a lot of fun with that. Some of the games are really interesting. I don't see any questions from my colleague. Okay, so we go to show you modding. We will touch it really briefly because we already are behind schedule. So what I will do, I will download the mod which was created by one of our testers, Cable Nexus, which should be here. I don't have actually time to watch. Yes, he's here. So that's the creator of this. It was extremely helpful that we had a modder in the beta test group who was willing to actually test it, because we didn't really expect this to be part of the release. There was no time basically to test it properly, but he did all this work. You can see that right now there is no item saying load mod, and also the corner of this is empty, because we right now have just one mod downloaded or basically set up for the game, which is the Ancient Rome. That's the default mod. What I will do, I will download in additional content. You can see in mods that there is the Aggressors Holland mod. We can download the mod, but what we can do, we can download straight away the scenario for the mod, and it will automatically download the mod as well. The scenario which uses this mod is called Battle of Arenas, so I will just click on that. It might take a minute because the mods are a bit bigger. Okay, the scenario is downloaded, but it's now downloading the mod, and it might take a minute. We don't have time to go through. Okay. So it's now downloaded. So we have the mod, and you can see that there is now the item load mod. We can load the mod, which will basically restart the game. But what we will do, we will simply start the game straight away. No restarting. Everything's on the fly. And you can see that there is a huge map of Holland. It's incredible work. I think that this is the biggest map we actually have available, and might even ever have available. So let's choose a country here. And I will show you not only the. You can see that the mod has restarted on the fly. So we are now in the Holland mod. You can see it in the top right corner. There is Holland, which is the name of the mod, and everything was reloaded. So now everything is taken from that mod. I will briefly show you the map. It's a really huge and nicely done map. And also what Cable Nexus did. He's still learning how to mod the game, but he's really good, and he was able to already mod some advanced things like different terrain extensions, different unit types. He also created his own action, which means you can basically create or change anything what you don't like on the existing mod, or you can create your own mod entirely. I don't really have time to show you how to do it, and it's a bit maybe not for everyone. So you can see that the terrain looks different. These swamps they look different. There are cows which were not which are not in the Ancient Rome mod at all. I think that there are also, if I will go to the editor, you can see that there are different terrain improvements you can set up. There are 2 more. He created his own administration or government. You can see that there were 6 types. He created his own, including the illustration. He changed the music, so it's pretty funny. If we will actually, well. There are many songs, but one of the songs is actually the Holland anthem he added to the game. He also added some technologies in the invention tree and some unit improvements which can be obtained. You can see that he also changed the greeting sounds. I'm not sure if you hear that, but I guess it's in Dutch, which was also modded by him. So basically you can mod anything you want, even the highlight. You can see that the highlight is also different. And if I will show you how the map looks like, because it's absolutely amazing. I mean, it's so detailed map of this part of Holland. And he's trying to be also historically accurate, so all the names, all the tribes, for example, have also different illustrations which he created on his own. So it's really nice work, but we don't really have time uh, to walk through this and also show the options of the modding in more details. By the way, he also created his own banners. He changed the way the UI looks, because there were just handshakes without the actual clothes, but he changed that, so you can mod basically anything. The last part I would like to cover, if there are no questions. No questions, okay. Is the AI. The reason for that is that there were many questions how the AI actually works and if it's capable of all the features. We test AI 3 different ways. The first one is what I was already showing before. We play the game. It's basically a user test, and we are trying to see how challenging the player is, if he's not doing any, if he's not making any silly things, etc., and try to balance the game. Then the second way how we test the game is that we again play the game, but on the second screen we have the tool which shows us the overall situation and how the player reacts for certain situations from our side in general. And then there is a third way, and we use a special tool. It's called AI Arena. I will now show you how it looks like. This is the tool, and it basically it displays the same map with the same setup. I just loaded the scenario here. You have it doesn't look that fancy, but there are many options what you can do, many different values you can track, the different ways of looking at the map. So what I will do, I will now just very quickly run the game. So we are not playing the game. All the players are actually the AIs. So you can see that these rounded things are the units, the rectangles are cities, and this is the turn. In the upper left corner is the turn number and the actual playing AI. You can see that it's very brisk. The reason is that we were really trying to optimize this to have it as fast as possible, without actual impact on the quality of the decision making. Yeah, you can see that it's 13 turn now, and the AIs are pretty active. You can see that there are some disembarkings here. Carthage just disembarked. Romans advanced to the Celtic territory, and there are some fights here. I can turn on the attacks, which basically will show you. I hope that you will see that. It shows the swords, and the swords actually show who is attacking who. And the other icons which you can see displaying. Okay, the attacks I cannot really see. The other thing you can see animated is the rounded stars, which is the new units build. Okay, the attacks stopped working for whatever reason. Yeah, it's now there, but I think that somehow it doesn't appear any. Okay, well, in that case, they are attacking a lot, but we cannot really see it now. The tool gives us a lot of ways how we can analyze the AI. We can see how the AI actually sees the situation. So, for example, we now turn on the way Romans see the game. The grayed out parts are fog of war. The black parts are the invisible tiles, and of course the pure color. That's the tiles where they see everything. So you can see that they see, for example, this particular country. They have with Pergamon. They have the alliance to see each other's tiles. So that's why they see that. So you can see that the AI from this doesn't cheat at all. Like the visibility is exactly the same like you would see the game, and we can walk through. I will turn off these animations because the animations actually slow down the graphics. So we can navigate through different countries, and you can see that every country has its own visibility or its own friends. I can turn on the relations, which will color it in different ways. So we will see that we now have the Athens selected, and this is a friend. This is actually in the defense pact, and this is a neutral state. The red are the ones in war. And there are certain information we can also show, like let's see. Okay, I'm not sure why it doesn't appear on the screen. Okay, for whatever reason, I cannot show it now. It's working, but I cannot show it now. You can see right now that there is some confederations in place. These not pure colors means that they are in confederation. So there are some confederations already set up. We are in turn 72 right now, and the Romans are expanding. They are already in the Greece. You can see that also the Carthaginians are doing pretty well. They are settling new cities. They are advancing to the Iberian Peninsula, and the Pontus is also doing pretty well because he's established a nice kingdom on the in the how it's called in English. Well, in Turkey, basically. You can also see the roads, how they build the roads. You can see the terrain rather than the actual countries, etc. So that's the way how we test the game. We can go on and just overlook how it played, but I think that as an example what we test, it's enough. This is basically the end of this stream. What I can do, I can answer a couple of questions if there are any. So if there are no questions, then thank you for watching. Let me just wait. If there are any questions, then please shout, because I'm here to answer. But if my colleagues already answered all of them, then I wish you a nice evening. This game, if you like the game, this game is going to be out in only 3 days, on 30th of August, and I'm really happy to hear your feedback once you have the game, because we definitely don't want to stop. You can see that the plans are pretty big, and the way you can tweak the game and the flexibility of game actually allows us to do that. So so we are really looking forward to your feedback once you get the game. Thank you for watching, and once again, have a nice evening.